Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission, and I call this meeting of the Commission to order on April 13, 2023 at 1:03 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
Present.
Commissioner Phillips.
Present.
Commissioner Peretick.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway in Lansing, Michigan, and we are also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Teams. We've made the leap from Teams Live to Teams. We're very excited about this today. Teams is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option as well. If you are participating via Microsoft Teams, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the More button at the top right of your Teams window, then clicking on Language and Speech from the drop-down menu, and finally clicking on Turn on Live Captions. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess but will continue to meet in person. The meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comments via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. For reference, this email is also included in today's meeting notice. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comment as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and one per person. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so in person or remotely through Microsoft Teams or by calling into the meeting by phone. For individuals attending in person and who want to make a verbal comment, please fill out a comment card. I know some of you already have. Comment cards are available at the front table near the podium. For individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the Raise Hand button at any time to be queued up for comment. And for individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a verbal comment, you may press *5 at any time to be queued up for comment. And public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone option are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order they enter the speaker queue. But please do not lower your hand until you're called on or press *5 again, or you will be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. And finally, to minimize disruptions, attendees participating by Microsoft Teams or by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I move to approve the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. And any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote and the agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 24, 2023 Commission meeting.
I move for approval of the minutes from the March 24th, 2023 Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the March 24, 2023 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The Commission meeting minutes of March 24, 2023 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda, and today the Commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Leah Arndt. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 11 communications matters and 3 electric matters. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Arndt. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4A1 is case number U-21332, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company requesting approval of a one-time voluntary refund to the company's utility customers and the authorization to implement accounting procedures consistent with the refund. The order before you approves in part and denies in part Consumers Energy Company's proposed methodology for issuing a one-time voluntary refund.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21332.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21332 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4A2 is case number U-21388, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion to commence a proceeding for collaborative consideration of issues related to the reliability and resilience of the electric power system in Michigan. The order before you notifies interested persons of the opportunity to participate in a commission-sponsored technical conference extending over 2 half-days on this topic.
I move for approval of the order in case number U-21388.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to briefly thank all those who participated in the town halls related to the recent power outages. I know for all of us, a lot of the feedback and input, as well as criticisms that we received during those town halls, all of that was taken into account in crafting the agenda for the upcoming Resilience and Reliability Technical Conference as described in this order. So again, thank you for that feedback. And we also are releasing on our website, and it will be available through the press release after this meeting and through social media, a Q&A document that gives some more specific feedback and responses to those questions, criticisms, and other concerns that were raised during those town hall events. So again, I'd like to thank all those many folks and utility customers that attended those sessions just several weeks ago.
Thank you, Commissioner Phillips. One of the questions that I got in some of the media inquiries that we received following some of the outage events is, what do we do in the meantime? Even as we're working to make the grid more reliable and reduce the number and frequency of outages, the number of folks experiencing multiple outages, how do we ensure greater resilience at both the individual and community level? And it's the right question. That it's going to take time to get the grid to the place where we all want it to be, expect it to be, and need it to be. But in the meantime, we need to make sure that individuals experiencing outages, whether at the distribution level or for whatever other reason, are taken care of. And so this is really the focus of this Reliability and Resilience Technical Conference, teasing up some of the issues and barriers, including the need for greater resilience, how we define resilience, issues affecting cross-sectoral interdependence in critical infrastructure critical infrastructure sectors, and then barriers to enhanced resilience, including regulatory barriers under the Commission's control, and those planning, financial, technological, policy, and other barriers that may fall outside of our direct control. But really the focus in here, as in everything else, is on solutions. So data and mapping, tools and technologies, program design, promoting equity, understanding that resilience investments have historically been inequitable. How can we better empower the most vulnerable customers in addressing resilience in impacted communities? Financing, what funding is available, both traditional and new opportunities, and then engaging local units of government, both in identifying facilities critical to community resilience, responding to vulnerable individuals during outages, during those extreme weather events, and identifying cost-effective opportunities to promote resilience during the planning process that local units of government use for public works projects. So really a focus on issues, barriers, and ultimately solutions to make sure that even as we work to improve the reliability of the overall grid, that we're promoting resilience at both the individual and community level along the way. Looking forward to learning as part of that technical conference. Any additional comment? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21388 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4A3 is case number U-21399, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion to open a docket that will be used to collaboratively identify national best practices and opportunities related to utility energy storage in a Commission-sponsored technical conference for residential energy storage pilots. The order before you opens the docket and sets forth details regarding the upcoming collaborative technical conference scheduled for July 25th, 2023.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21399.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would just like to note that this technical conference will be open to anyone who would like to join, and we would welcome anyone's and everyone's participation. There will be more details about the time, agenda, and format of the conference that will be announced in the docket no later than July 11th for the conference to be held on July 25th. I'm looking forward to understanding the benefits and costs of residential energy storage programs, understand the issues related to low-income customers, and then solve ownership and contracting issues, and find solutions for residential energy storage programs that are attainable and beneficial.
Thank you, Commissioner Peretick. Is there any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21399 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4B1 is case number U-21331, which involves an ex parte application filed by DTE Gas Company for a one-time voluntary refund. The order before you approves a refund amount of $5 million and approves DTE Gas's proposed refund method.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21331.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21331, 21331, excuse me, is approved. We've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we will take public comments in the following order. First, individuals attending in person, and then from individuals participating remotely, either through Microsoft Teams or the phone, in the order in which they appear in the queue. We've got a couple of comment cards to start. Ted Griffin, I have you first, and then Jerry Labadie on deck. Mr. Griffin, welcome back.
Hi, my name's Ted Griffin, live in Lawrence, Van Buren County, Michigan, opposed to the Crandall High Power Line. They want to come across my property. If they do, my house will be completely encircled in power lines. I live in the country. I live there for a reason. I've lived there for 46 years. I bought the place, I've worked it, I've made it my own. I don't want big corporates stepping on me and taking over my property. I worked for the Van Buren County Road Commission for 37 years as a public servant. I don't think I should have to spend my pension check on lawyers to defend my property. This system is wrong. Thank you.
Apologies. Jerry Labadie, and then George Cargo.
I think you probably remember this from last month. It's really a Vietnam memorial. I put it up about 12 years ago. I was in Vietnam myself, and the soldiers that came back from Vietnam were not treated well, as you well know. Taking down this memorial like Consumer Power wants to take down this memorial is not right. They have no business messing with a military memorial, nevertheless the one that the Vietnam veteran deserves. So I hope that you think about that. I guess I have to finish the rest. The rest is they're going to take my house along with that. And that's worse, but I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. They can go a different way. We know they can go a different way. Much cheaper way, but for some reason they don't want to do that. They want to spend millions to run that 22-mile line down there. That's stupid, absolutely stupid. If they went the other two ways, which I'm sure you can figure out, is that they don't take maybe one, maybe none. It's just ridiculous. There's another way to do it. They have to do it. We can't keep going on about this. We've gone on this for, I don't know, 6 months. I don't know how long we've been doing it, but it's crazy. There's no reason to do that. I have a daughter at home that is on dialysis. We have a full house generator. So when the electricity goes out, we at least have that run up again. That will start and it will run the dialysis machine. We need this to stop. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Labadie. George Cargo, and then Tammy Tapper.
Good morning. My name is George Cargo. I live at 43882 County Road 652, Mattawan. I live across the street from Jerry's and the Veterans Memorial. It's a gift that he has given to all of us. We shouldn't have to destroy that. And we're not here to badger you, or we're asking you to put a stop to this. or at least support them looking at alternative ways of doing this. There's another power line, less than 2 miles. It's AEP. They need to sit down with them and work with them to get this line across. They have a line coming from Grand Junction. It's not the high voltage line, but they got all the easement on that. From what they're telling us, if they came through our area, put these lines up 5 years from now or whatever, and they want to upgrade this to the big metal poles, they can do that. Why can't they do that to this 6-mile length? They got all the easements there. So again, we're just asking for your support. Please deny this or force them to sit down and look down another way of getting this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cargo. Tammy Tapper, and then Jim Tapper.
Good afternoon again.
Hello.
Thank you so much for your time today. I do have a question, I think, on behalf of our 600-plus members. How do we encourage Consumers Energy to pursue one of the two alternative routes? We can't seem to get an answer to that question. How do we know who to talk to? Who do we go to? You know, I don't think anyone wants to have a court battle, but we seem to have difficulty getting that question answered. How do we know this afternoon when we get home or tomorrow morning Consumers Energy is not going to be out there with chainsaws cutting down trees? How do we know that? At last month's meeting, we heard a lot about power outages. We've had AEP for 26 years. We live in Michigan. We have a lot of inclement weather year-round, and we have not once been without power for more than 2 or 3 days. We all deal with that as it comes along. And I guess my message for consumers is maybe they ought to focus on their current infrastructure and what they have going on instead of looking at a 20-mile-plus route of home and property destruction. Earlier in the week at the Lawrence Planning Commission meeting, I asked what the reason is for this need for power and property destruction, and the answer was, quote unquote, 305 Farms. That's a new business in Lawrence. And they want to bring, quote unquote, from Mitchell Maltz, Vice President of Business Development for 305, they want to bring Miami to Michigan. They plan to produce 50 to 80,000 pounds of weed a year. Really? At the expense of 150 property owners plus? We have Senator Nesbitt, Representative Wenzel, Van Buren County Commission, all townships, and the village of Lawrence that are opposed to this route, as well as all of us property owners. I would like to extend an invitation to all of you to come down and take a look. We'd be more than happy to show you what we're talking about, because I think seeing it in person speaks volumes. And we'd be happy to take you to Cody Cresta, which is a beautiful winery in a beautiful country setting, and maybe just show you what we have and what we're talking about. I just want to restate, 50 to 80,000 pounds of dope. Let that sink in. Thank you so much for your time, and I'd love to have you come and visit.
Thank you, Mrs. Tapper. Jim Tapper, and then Julia Richardson.
Can I ask you a question?
This is usually for public comment from you, so that we can listen to it.
Okay, well, I guess what I wanted to know is, so consumers have to put in an application to you people, and then you approve it or disapprove it on this 20-mile power line?
It's unclear. It's unclear to us. I will say I've understood from some of our communications that they have publicly stated that they are pausing this project.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything to me,
Yeah,
because
I
we
hear that.
still see, even this morning, I saw a consumer's truck on our road to survey people, but, well, anyway, the last time I was here, I told you about my personal hero. He's a 92-year-old Korean vet, and, I told him about the pause, and he goes, "Oh, good." And then he says, "Do you know how long it's been since I spent the night in a tent?" And I said, "No." And I said, "Why?" Because he was planning on spending the nights out there when they started going in a tent. But anyway, he's still my hero, and he's still one of the best trap shooters I've ever met. And I would hope at the end of this, if it does come before you, that all three of you would vote against this, like the village of Lawrence did. That surprised me, but anyway, well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tepper. Julia Richardson and then Kevin Goley. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak again. Since the last meeting here, Consumers Energy did release an update on the proposed high voltage project in Van Buren County. They said they are immediately pausing all field activities associated with the route. The letter was misleading. Many in our Facebook group, Save Our Trees, Stop the Power Line, received congratulations on our victory. I received a call from Channel 8 News informing me it was over. A neighbor received a congratulatory email from Representative Wenzel. While the media was busy reporting our success, consumers sent an email to our group attorney, which is page 1 of your handout. Paragraph 2 begins, quote, "At this time, it is unclear what the ultimate solution will be for providing the Lawrence area with additional power to meet the current and projected demands." And please pay attention to the second sentence. Accordingly, it is unclear whether the ultimate solution for meeting the Lawrence area power demands will involve the real estate your clients own. That's my property. While I appreciate consumers' step in the right direction, the so-called pause does not relieve the stress of homeowners along the proposed route. On the contrary, it makes us feel like lambs in the holding pen waiting for slaughter. A pause prolongs our stress. Our group has resolutions against the proposed route from Almena Township, Antwerp Township, Paw Paw Township, Lawrence Township, the Village of Lawrence, Van Buren County Commissioners. We have statements of opposition from Senator Nesbitt, Representative Wenzel, and as of yesterday, an email from Shane Muchmore, Senator McCann's Chief of Staff. This is page 2 of your handout. Certainly, these numerous official statements prove the proposed paused route is not an acceptable solution. Pause should immediately be changed to stop. This week at the Village of Lawrence Planning Commission meeting, when the owner of the Lawrence Crandall Business Park was asked who in the Village of Lawrence will benefit from the high voltage line, she replied, 305 Farms. Our group has a recording of that. 305 Farms is not in the Lawrence area. 305 Farms is one business, an indoor marijuana grower based out of Miami, where marijuana is currently illegal. 305 Farms currently operates 5 licenses and has plans to increase to 40. Without the high voltage line, they will be unable to do this. Page 3 of your handout is an email from the CEO, Mr. Peon of 305 Farms, explaining this. In the beginning, as you know, Consumers Energy planned to partner with AEP, which has a substation very close to 305 Farms. When that partnership failed, the 24-mile high voltage line was their solution. Marijuana is legal, but this does not excuse indoor growers from responsible business decisions. They should not move into an area that lacks appropriate infrastructure based on a promise. And Consumers Energy should not promise until they are certain they have an acceptable solution. These two companies should bear the burden of their negligence. Not mine, theirs. And not my neighbors, 24 miles of my neighbors. Please, I ask you, relieve the stress in our community. Insist consumers change the pause to stop as soon as possible. And I do want to say, some people have said, it's only been a couple months. How did you do this? How did you get all these resolutions? How did you get all these statements from senators? I will tell you, our community, a small group of us, the same ones who are running this, were involved in fighting the village of Madawan because they wanted to build a wastewater treatment plant and dump their wastewater in my backyard. That went on for a year and a half. I had a brother that had cancer. He was doing well. And when this happened, the creek ran right behind his home, and he is no longer with us.
Thank you, Mrs. Richardson. Kevin Goley.
Hello again. My name is Kevin Gall, not Gooley. You may recognize me. I was here 20 days ago. A bunch of us were here 20 days ago. But again, hello again. Hope you had a nice Easter. In this Easter week, it was very interesting that finally, as Julie Richardson pointed out, we did receive a very evasive letter from consumers. One thing about this is that the date on this is April 2023. Not a specific date, it's April. We've only begun April. But let me think about this. In the context of it being the Easter week, I'd like to emphasize that consumers, in spite of Lent being over, the 40 days of Lent being over, they're still abstaining from open, clear, and substantive communications. It's been the case since November and December when they first proposed this ridiculous route. And for the last couple months, all the townships have come together and say, consumers, this is a ridiculous route. What are you doing? So, like I said, members of our group came here 20 days ago. On March 24th, we only began to let you know how ridiculous this proposal is from consumers. They want to string well over 22 miles of high voltage transmission lines across 4 beautiful pure Michigan townships within Van Buren County. We do appreciate your hospitality. We thank you for listening to us. It's been a true whirlwind of disbelief from our group as we try to dissect consumers' transmission line proposal. And we do thank you for your comments, which are on record, that as of 20 days ago, you as well had received very little information on this project. Coming out of left field for you, coming out of right field for us, hidden in the back of the head. Nobody knows what's going on. Consumers doesn't know. You guys are scratching your heads, we're scratching our heads. Before our last appearance, I provided some initial reference materials via email to the attention of commission and to staff. I don't want to dilute my time afforded to me now by going over those items again. But I want to reemphasize the point that while consumers' proposal is egregious, I believe the opportunities for this action they're trying to make is only possible in part by their own self-regulation business model. The MPSC case records in several instances have shown consumers' disdain for the statutory provisions requiring them to participate with stakeholders in the overall integrated resource planning process. But I want to share a new observation. When we were here the 24th, provided with an agenda, just like today, you have several consent items. One of those items on there, on the 24th, you had a consent agenda item at B under electric item 4. You had a minute action related to PJM Interconnection, LLC. It relates to the Covert Interconnection Service Agreement, which is on the FERC docket, ER 23-1075. Briefly, Consumers Energy acquired the Covert Generating Facility, which was servicing PJM territory. Consumers wants to switch the regional transportation oversight to allow the Covert facility to generate and transmit power to MISO Local Resource Zone 7. Local Resource 7 comes right down to where PJM comes up. This is one of these seam territories. This is where we need MISO and PJM and the commission to help figure out where these areas are overlapping. How can we the citizens control and live with utility bombardment that is not necessary? As I point out, PJM is a regional transmission organization. Their operating territory encompasses the majority of lower Southwest Michigan. Within this perspective, the complete footprint of Consumers Transmission proposal is within the PJM operating territory. Consumers is the non-transmission owner member of MISO, obviously a different group. So in Southwest Michigan, you've got two RTOs. They got a lot of work to do within this SEAMS oversight. And I'm sorry, the commission, you guys also have some work to do and how this is going to be regulated. The reason I reference this minute action is because the MPSC records provide the detail that on February 17th, consumers filed a motion for expedited consideration requested. Their February 17th motion to intervene in Consumers Energy supported and requested an expedited action on the interconnection service agreement for PJM. Consumer statements included the PJM interconnection service agreement directly affects their ability to deliver additional capacity to consumers' customers in that local resource zone 7 in the MISO footprint. Consumers argues that the proposed Covert interconnection service agreement is needed for consumers, timely and orderly integration of the Covert facility into MISO by June 1st, 2023. So in glancing over those ISA details, here's what's so crippling about reading and realizing that consumers will file this. And they point out their timelines, which they solely feel are important. So a motion they file on February 17th is then within 5 weeks is part of a reviewed and approved minute action that was approved by this commission 20 days ago on March 24th. Yet consumers makes a historic PR blunder within their own early and ill-conceived plans for this current Crandall transmission project. Consumers has been advised via numerous county, township, and village resolutions since early March that this project has no merit. The only official action Consumers has made to date is their meek, open-ended April 2023 open-ended letter. It says April. It says they're going to pause immediately. April's got, what, 31 days? When are they going to pause? What's pause? Pause is not stop. What they need to do, and I compelled this on you guys 20 days ago, you have the authority. This needs a clear cease and desist order. You don't pause and restart. You've had testimony from many people. Stress is a killer. We don't need this. And I'm sorry, you have the authority, you have the opportunity, and to satisfy the public, I think you have the duty to issue a cease and desist on this proposed project. Tell them to go back to the table with AEP, learn to play in the sandbox with everybody else.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks for your
Gall.
time.
Apologies for getting your name wrong. Get it right next time. Do we have any other persons attending in person that would like to provide comment at this time? Okay. We will now turn to public comments through the remote options. For individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the raise hand button to be queued up for comment when it is your turn to speak. please click on the mic button to unmute, and individuals participating through Microsoft Teams also now have the option to turn on their camera, which we didn't have before. For individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a comment, you may press *5 to be queued up for comment, and when it's your turn to speak, press *6 to unmute. Public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order they enter the speaker queue. Again, please do not lower your hand or press *5 again, or you will be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. And again, as a reminder, this is an opportunity for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you're willing to share, so we have that for our records. And again, please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so that we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. And I have 3 individuals who have raised their hands through the Teams platform, and so I will go in order. Sheila Cutshall, you get to go first, and then Priscilla Woodhams. But Sheila Cutshall, if you're able to unmute, we'd love to hear from you.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Thanks again for listening to all of us. Again, I'm a longtime employee of Cody Cresta Winery, located on 27th Street in Elmina Township and owned by David and Mary Lou Bukovich. And thank you, Tammy, for extending the invitation to everyone. I extend that as well. You'd be very welcome. Today I speak on behalf of David and Mary Lou, who were here last month in person before you, my coworkers, all of us in the Save Our Homes group, and the thousands of customers that visit Cody Cresta Winery each year. David and Mary Lou, as I said, were at the last meeting and Mary Lou spoke. She mentioned that she is currently fighting metastatic ovarian cancer, and my heart breaks every time I see her because of the stress this is placing on this truly beautiful person's mental and physical health, as it is everyone in this group. I've watched David and Mary Lou work tirelessly to build their business into what it is today, all while they nurture, preserve, and improve their land. I cannot stress enough how damaging these high voltage power lines would be to all of this. Approximately 75% of our total customer capacity at Cody Cresta is outdoors on our patio and beyond, nestled among our trees, grapevines, waterfalls, plantings, and the adjacent wildlife field. I can tell you that every day I hear firsthand from our customers how beautiful and welcoming it is. Now, with the threat of these high power lines running through this property, this will all be destroyed. This is going to go directly behind our patio, where 75% of our customer capacity is located. So if you guys can see this, this is a brochure that David and Mary Lou had made up. It shows our patio here. The lines are going to go right behind it. It has a QR code on the back of it to our Save Our Homes website, and is pleading with people, anyone that comes into our winery. We're handing these out. People are interested. They're talking about it, and they're appalled. So yesterday, a beautiful day, we of course had customers enjoying wine on our patio, including a group from England that had never been there before and commented on the scenery, and a couple from Monroe, Michigan, who had visited us before. I spoke to this couple about the project, and their exact words were, "This absolutely would hurt your business. This is one of the main reasons people come here. It would be a tragedy." A few other comments from our Facebook page. Cody Cresta is such a special place. They cannot do this. That's outrageous. It will ruin the view and setting. This is ridiculous. So many properties being destroyed, and Cody Cresta is one of our favorite places. There is a better way to handle this. Unacceptable. They need to use other options or discontinue this plan altogether. Another ridiculous. The whole reason for the lines is to get power to the weed farms out in the Lawrence Business Park. outrageous. This will ruin your beautiful patio. And I will finish up here quickly. I understand that people need reliable power. I was one of those without power for 5 days during the recent outage, without a generator. But this project is not to benefit all of Van Buren County, as Consumers falsely states, nor is it for the public good. Consumers has been overtly dishonest in their representations. And despite this recent public PR letter that was sent to the media, dated, as said before, April 2023, which is an ambiguous date to say the least when you're talking about a pause on activities. This is actually a case of so many that will have to suffer enormously for the benefit of a few. Why should a well-established local business like Cody Cresta Winery and 20 miles of its neighbors, including the War Memorial and a public nature preserve and everyone's property, have to unnecessarily sacrifice their livelihoods, homes, environment, and their health for this project in order to benefit a fairly massive Florida marijuana and vape company? The truth is, they shouldn't. There are alternatives. This is our state, and these are our lives. All of us were here first, contributing to our community, and we deserve the support of those in Michigan, like you, that can change this. Please help us and all parties involved to stop this project as it's proposed and find a better way. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cutshall. I have Priscilla Woodhams and then Tom Allen. I can see you. I think I can hear you. No, I can't hear you yet. Still having some issues with audio. Can you make sure that you're unmuted on?
Kyle, are we able to unmute on our end?
We're going to try that again. Woodhams. Still there? All right, I'm going to try and go to Tom Allen, and then I'll try and come back to Priscilla Woodhams. Mr. Allen?
Hello?
Yes. Oh, wait. Mr. Allen, you're going to have to wait. I think we've got Ms. Woodhams back.
Thank
right.
goodness. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I so much apologize. I'm at work and something at my work must have interfered. Apologies. Thank you so much for your time. And I really want to express a very big thanks to all of the public servants involved in helping Van Buren County. Every single municipality and every single organization that we have reached out to has been positive in supporting us. And I think this really speaks to the quality. It doesn't seem to matter R or D. Everybody's happy to help because it makes most sense. People keep saying, why does consumers want to do this? You all probably already understand why. Consumers makes money off of putting in infrastructure. And I strongly suggest, as you talk about consumers strengthening the grid, you make sure that we all who are public servants, I'm a physician, I'm a public servant, we all make sure that consumers lives up to its obligation to serve the public. The only reason this company is permitted to be a private company having a public monopoly, because boy, would we all go off of them today if we could. There's a waiting list to get off of Consumers Energy, is because you all keep them in check. So please keep them in check. Now, clearly they are going to be kept in check with this one, but I'm worried about the future for other communities because we have so much support. Please, in anything that you can do now that you know that this should be stopped, would be greatly appreciated. I am a physician and I also need to look out for the health of my community. And I cannot stress strongly enough how much this is affecting the health and well-being of children and adults across our community. A pause is, we as humans need prediction in our life, and a pause is a moderate form of a torture if one is human, because you do not know if one was to go off of pause, which was demonstrated by the letter that those of us who have an attorney to stand up for our rights have. I don't think it's right that I had to hire an attorney for this, but I did. Anyway, they told us we may or may not be back on the chopping block, and that is not okay for our health. The other thing I wanted to say is this has a clear and simple solution. When one goes to Lawrence, I would love for you to go there. That it is 75 feet. The wonderful host from the village of Lawrence told me where to go to look at this. And so I drove out there. They are against this. Even the village who wants this 305 Farms pot farm is against it. It is 75 feet from their substation to the high voltage AEP capacity. The line that Consumers is proposing to put in is proposed to cross AEP's high voltage capacity line. That is a transmission line. I believe this one should be called a transmission line rather than a distribution line, given it's over 100,000. The number is over 100,000, but they're trying to call it a distribution line. I cannot believe that that we as a state cannot prevent a crossing of two transmission lines that are so close together. If you could look at how close, and I will send you a map so you can see. I don't know how to share my screen to show it to you right now, but they are so close. It is the definition of obscene. They can partner with AEP. Chairman McCann, who I'm sure you all know, is, the chief of staff was just wonderful, and plans to reach out to you, and also to AEP and also to Consumers to help facilitate this. And I would please this is one of your times as a public servant where you can really do some good. We've worked so hard to show that this is wrong, and if you can do what you could do, we would love it. I would also like to point out that my job is to speak up for the kids. Not only is this affecting their mental health, but this is, threatening your home is a pretty big deal when you're a kid. My daughter doesn't know what's going on, nor do the other kids. But the other thing is this drops property values along a 24-mile stretch by 10 to 40%, which would also drop tax revenue in the future for our public schools. And the public schools in this area function at less than the average for Michigan. And they are such good people at these public schools. I love our public schools, and I cannot think of them being forced because of some pot farm that produces high THC only vape and edibles. That's their plan for expansion. That should happen to our public schools. That cannot happen. And I appreciate what I think you're going to do to stop that. And one more quick thing, because you are the energy related, obviously 7 licenses Class C to produce marijuana, you know how much energy that's sucking. These are right up there with database for the amount of energy they take over. Could you please somehow work with the legislators to put in some laws to judiciously use our power in the state of Michigan for productive things? 40 Class C licenses is what we're talking about. And you all know how much power that is. That's like 40 data banks with none of the social redeeming quality. This company is even from Miami, where this stuff isn't even legal. So I just would like you to consider for the future of Michigan what we're using our power for, and consider some laws in that regard. I really appreciate your time and your effort, and thank you so much for what you do to keep us all safe out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Woodhams. Go Broncos.
Thank you.
Tom Allen, I have you next, and then Craig Jones.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for your patience.
Okay. My name is Tom Allen, and I live at 3055 Helen Court, Royal Oak, Michigan. And I'm also an electrical engineer. In my area, we have had 5 outages in about 7 months. And most of these outages, matter of fact, all of them are not short. They're a day or two. And it affects 800 people because there are 800 people on a DTE circuit. So when this outage occurs, it affects 800 people who have to have their, food spoiled and suffer. And, one of the outages was in the winter, and so it created a heating problem. I filed a complaint with the commission, and they referred me to DTE, and I asked DTE when they were going to trim the trees, because I believe that's what it is. And they said 2024, and they didn't give me a time any closer than that. Well, if we have to go for another winter without the trees trimmed, we're going to suffer more power outages. And I'm asking the commission to, look into this and see if we can't get an improvement on the time that it'll take to trim the trees. I think it would be justified because, like I say, it affects 800 people on that circuit. And finally, I'm also a software engineer, and I suggest you use Zoom rather than Teams if you want more participation, because everybody is familiar with Zoom. And although Microsoft would tell you otherwise, there's a lot more people that use it, and it works better. I had trouble signing on, and it's only through my software engineering skills that I was able to do it. But other people who don't have the similar capability, it would be hard to get on. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. And I have Craig Jones up next, which is the last hand that I see in the queue.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. My name is Craig Jones. I live at 465 27th Street in Mattawan. You've heard from several of my neighbors today already going over the details. I just wanted to reconfirm that one of our biggest frustrations as a group is consumers has been both deceitful and non-responsive to us as we've went through this whole process. And now this week we get a pause. What does that mean to us? The only thing it does, it seems, is in the short term has helped consumers get some press that's at least not negative for them. We've known since this operation went in where the power's going to, it's been known that this was going to be a problem. At their grand opening in May of 2022, the vice president did an interview with Wood TV out of Grand Rapids. When asked, but why a village in Van Buren County instead of Grand Rapids or Metro Detroit? His response was, quote, the other locations weren't going to give us enough power and we wouldn't have enough water. And those are two ingredients that we need to have a big staffed facility, said Mr. Maltz. So if this company is going to move here, they're going to get this promise to them by somebody. Who's able to make that promise? Is consumers just able to do it on their own? And at what cost? We're less than a year later, and now the only proposed solution that's been put out into the public is a route over 24 miles, destroying neighborhoods and countless, I've heard from 150 to 200 different landowners. Then this week, we get the letter about a pause, and Consumers has the gall to address this letter to us as quote unquote neighbors. I don't know about you, but I don't treat my neighbors like this, being deceitful and lying to them. Thank you very much for your time. Please help do anything you can to help us put an end to this. And to reiterate the mental stress this has caused in our neighborhood is incredibly high, never ending, and completely unnecessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I believe that concludes public comment for this meeting. Before we break, one announcement, just to note that April is National Arab American Heritage Month, it's a celebration of the rich and diverse culture and achievements of Arab Americans. The initiative for the official national designation was launched in 2017. Michigan was on board by 2019, and in 2021, April was observed as National Arab American Heritage Month. So want to highlight the many accomplishments, both of our Arab American staff as well as the many Arab Americans across the state of Michigan in celebrating National Arab American Heritage Month. Are there any other announcements before we close out today? No.
Yeah, I would just also like to note that it's Safe Digging Month too. So before you begin any project that involves digging, be sure to call Miss Dig at 811 to have them come and mark where your underground utilities are, so you don't accidentally come into contact with a buried gas line, electric line, or water or sewer pipes. It's totally free, and you only need to give them 72 hours notice, even though they prefer that you give them a heads up at least a week in advance. So if you're planning on planting a tree or building a deck or fence or any other project that involves digging, please remember to call 811 first.
Thank you, Commissioner Peretick. Our next regular commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 24th, 2023 at 1 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Phillips?
I move to adjourn today's commission meeting.
I second the motion.
We'll now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.